5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Good morning, Misfits. How are we doing today? We got a guest episode. What is today? I never know what day it is. It's Friday. Yay. Yeah, we did Hate Mail Thursday yesterday. I should know the days of the week based on what I do the day before, but I don't. We'll talk about it, but instead, let's get right into it. We got Salvador Litvak coming on, and he's a filmmaker, director. I was connected through him because somebody in my comment, somebody tagged me in a comment section of his, and I was watching his post, and I thought, okay, this is definitely somebody I want to talk to because everybody knows that I'm a defender of the Jews and everything like that, because of all the bullshit that's going on. But I would say, bigger defender, or not bigger, but longer defender of the Second Amendment. So when I saw that there was this guy talking about how he made this movie about Jews and guns, I'm like, shit, man, that's my jam. So let's bring on Sal right now. Sal, how are you, sir? You know that's my father's name, Sal.
How about that? It's good to be with you, Zach.
Salvatore, you're Salvador. We'll let it slide. But yeah, I watched the screener, and you sent me over the screener, and I love how it looks right here on the screen. It says Guns N' Moses, Zach Bonfilio. It looks like I'm in the movie, because you put my name on the screener, so that way if I sent it to somebody, you'd be able to come back and be like, hey, you son of a bitch. But I wanted to get you on, like I was just saying, because I'm a huge defender of the Jewish people ever since October 7th. I've never been anti-Jew, but it seems like after October 7th, I saw this growing movement of I don't call it anti-Semitism, by the way, not rarely. I call it anti-Jew, because anti-Semitism will get played out like racist, right? And like the left will just call everybody a racist, and I didn't want us to fall into that category. But yeah, I'm a very big defender of, just, I'm against any group hating another group based off of immutable characteristics. But also, like I was saying, I'm a big pro 2A guy, so I think that this fit. Go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself and give me your story. Talk about the movie. Talk about what we want to discuss today, and you have the floor, sir.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you, and thank you for your service, your ongoing service, at a time when America really needs truth tellers. I am an immigrant. I was born in Chile. That's where I got a crazy name like Salvador Litvak. My father and my grandfather were also born in Chile, but my great-grandfather came over from Ukraine about 1905. And on my mother's side, they're Hungarian, survived the Holocaust. Miracle story. My grandmother carried my mother as an infant through a concentration camp. My
Wow.
grandfather was murdered in another camp. And somehow they got through it. They survived. And after the war, they were still in Hungary, and experienced Soviet governance firsthand, what the USSR was, what communism really is. They finally escaped in 1956, followed a relative, and ended up in Chile. And then in 1970, when Chile elected a communist president, Salvador Allende, the Hungarians said, oh, we've seen this before. We know how it plays out. We're out of here. And that's how we ended up in America, thank God. I became an American citizen when I turned 18. And in this country, as immigrants, my parents looked around and said, what's the thing to do in America? Go to a good college and be a doctor. So that's what you're going to do, Sal. They told me that when I was 5 years old. And I did go to a good college, and I was a pre-med, and then I realized this is not for me. Took a bit of a roundabout route, but ended up coming out to California, going to UCLA Film School, and becoming a filmmaker. And Guns N' Moses is my third feature that was released in theaters. It came out this past summer. And as you mentioned, I am a political conservative like you, pretty strongly so, though I didn't grow up that way. Growing up as a Jewish guy in New York, I was a liberal like everybody else. It was the air that I breathed. We thought that the New York Times was a truth teller. And all of that changed for me. I was also not a religious Jew at all. I had a bar mitzvah, and then I was out. I was just kind of bored by the whole thing. Sadly, I was not exposed to inspiring Torah Judaism at a young age. So as an adult, a lot of things changed for me. One of them was, well, first of all, my grandmother was always with us. I mentioned her before. I had a very powerful experience when I was 32 years old, and I was at her bedside when she died. I saw her take her last breath. It's a longer story, but just I'll say this: that like I said, my grandfather was she lost him in the Holocaust, and theirs was a great love story, one of those love stories for the ages. And you know, in the displaced persons camp after the war, she went to many weddings, people who lost their spouses in the war, and then got busy with the task of repopulating the world's Jews. But for her, there was only her husband. Her name was Magda. He was Imre, and it was just something we always knew about her, that she was waiting to be reunited with her husband in the next world. You know, so it was just something about her. So that strong faith that she would be reunited with him and that she would wait. And she sounds like a saint, and she was, but she was also really funny. We had a great time together, the great Hungarian cooking. And so at that moment, when I was at her bedside, she took the last breath. It was actually a cancer in the end that got her at 88 years of age. Um, but then, you know, my mother was there, my brother was there. We're all crying, but something pulled my attention away from her face and to the middle of the room. And it was like the air shimmered and something opened. And I was like looking through this opening, and I saw her not sick with the cancer, but the way I knew her, this funny older woman, and she was moving away from me and towards someone, and it was my grandfather, Imre, that I recognized from the photographs. And I thought, oh my God, this is the moment she's been waiting for
Mm.
53 years. I can't believe I'm seeing this. And the weird thing was, she didn't want to go. And I'm like, why doesn't she want to go? And then I got it. She's this young, handsome man, like she last saw him in 1943. And she's an old lady and she's embarrassed.
Mm.
And he reached out, took her hands, pulled her to him. They embraced. It got brighter. Then she was young again, radiating this kind of joy from literally beyond this world. Uh, you know, they embraced in this huge loving moment. It got really bright, and then they were gone.
Mm.
And I'm just speechless, you know, that with her last moment in this world, she gave me this gift of a glimpse beyond the veil, and it changed my life. I mean, when I got back to LA where I live, I just wanted to honor her somehow. And I thought, what should I do? I guess I'll go to a synagogue and say Kaddish, the mourner's prayer. And that day, luckily, there was a rabbi who was very inspiring, a gifted teacher. And I thought, you know, I've always been a very spiritual person. I don't see things. I'm not a person who ever had visions before
Mm.
or after that. Um, but I've always felt that, you know, why is there a world at all? And there must be a creator. It doesn't make sense that all of this burst into being for no reason. It must have been created. There must have been a will behind that creation. I'm sure the creator is interested in us and would appreciate that we're interested in him. And I just thought, sadly, that Judaism wasn't about that. But now, as an adult, I started reconnecting and learning our tradition, tremendous, you know, tradition, spiritual tradition going all the way back thousands of years. Um, and I plugged in, you know, and as an adult, eventually, slowly we worked our way up, my wife and I, in this journey together. And we're Orthodox Jews, religious Jews. We would say from Yidden, right? That's kind of the Yiddish way to say it. Um, and along the journey, some other things happened as well. So I was in Jerusalem in 2014, filming some interviews for my platform. It's called Accidental Talmudist. We share what's beautiful in the Jewish tradition. We have 1 million followers on Facebook. few 100,000 more on Instagram primarily. We share humor, history, holidays, but especially what's inspiring in scripture, wisdom that is good for everybody. My followers are probably a little bit more than half not Jewish because it really is relevant to everybody. And in Jerusalem in 2014, very close to my hotel, there was a terrorist attack in which some jihadist radical Palestinians broke into a synagogue and during morning prayers with hatchets, and two of them murdered four American rabbis during morning prayers. A passing Druze Arab Israeli policeman off duty, heard the commotion, came in, confronted the killers, stopped the killing, was wounded severely, ended up dying of his wounds, and a second off-duty policeman neutralized the killers. And we tuned in to the Israeli news, probably 45 minutes after it happened. And my Hebrew's not that good, so my Israeli producer was translating for me, and I wanted to hear it in English. So within another 45 minutes after that, it was hitting the BBC. And the headline at the bottom was Israeli security forces killed two Palestinians. That's how they characterized that event. And CNN followed not that long after with a similar, chyron, similar blurb on their screen. And I thought, wow, I mean, if they could manipulate and lie that badly about an event like that, what else are they lying to me about? And that's when I really started.
Red pill.
I was red pilled. That was my red pill moment.
We call that the red pill moment.
That was it. And I came back and I started, to get new, real information about what's going on in the world, about anything. You're going to need multiple sources. You're going to have to triangulate the truth. There's bias, and conservative media, just like there is in liberal media. Although I would say it's less, and people tell you what sort of bias they have. They don't pretend that they don't have it. But that's when my journey really began, and came to realize that the New York Times, so far from being a truth teller, is just an absolute lying machinery. And that is the mainstream media. I mean, it's all of it. It's just so much garbage that they're putting into the air. And so that's how I became a conservative. And eventually, as a visible Jew, right? I mean, I walk around, I have a kippah, my head is always covered. When I go to synagogue on Saturdays, I'm wearing a black suit and a black hat. And so I'm a visible Jew. And in our visibly Jewish community, we've been aware that there's a threat level rising for some time to the Jews. There have been attacks for some time. It's not always, a mass murderer coming into a synagogue. There's all kinds of attacks happening all the time. And I didn't grow up around guns, but I'm somebody who is always willing to take on something new, learn a skill. And so when a Chabad rabbi, a Hasidic rabbi, Rabbi Yossi Elford, created an organization called Magen Am, which in Hebrew means Shield of the Nation, taking volunteers and training them in firearms use, extensive training, so that we could become licensed initially as uniform security guards. I mean, we're all volunteers. We have exposed carry cards. So that we could defend our communities. So I signed up and I went through all that training. And Rabbi Yossi is very tough. We have to pass quals that are more difficult than FBI agents have to pass. Most of us
low standard.
Okay, fair enough. Eventually, most of us got concealed carry as well. And then on my creative side, my wife and I, who have been on this journey together, said when we're going to make our new picture, I wanted to make a thriller. It's my favorite genre. We watched a thriller a day for 2 years to sort of really equip ourselves and do the deep dive on how thrillers operate. And as we were looking for the topic of that, there was a shooting in a Chabad synagogue in 2019 here in California, in Poway, California, where in this case, a white nationalist came in, murdered a woman named Lori Gilbert Kay, or injured the rabbi, who courageously, and an old man with a white beard, went at the killer and tried to stop him, had his fingers shot off, and then the gun jammed. Miraculously, the kid ran out. And I attended the funeral the next day. I drove down, it's near San Diego, and I interviewed Rabbi Goldstein for my podcast, and then watched him become a national figure in the ensuing days. Visited the White House, and he called on people who were watching to do some good, do a mitzvah, do some good in the world, in the name and in the memory of Lori, who had been murdered, so that some light could come out of that darkness. I found that very inspiring.
That's a part of the
And
movie as well. Yeah.
exactly. So the movie Guns and Moses is not the story of that shooting, but it is. But the characters in Rabbi Mo in the movie is inspired by Rabbi Goldstein, much younger version, let's say, in the movie. And so there's a string of murders, unsolved murders. In this case, they arrest a young white nationalist who has made Jew-hating remarks, but the rabbis met this kid and has an instinct that he didn't do it. And so, since the cops won't investigate, the rabbi takes on the role of detective. And as he gets closer to what's really going on, the danger level skyrockets. And a Navy veteran who's his security guard says, "You need to protect yourself, your family, your community. You need to learn how to use a firearm." And he goes through the same training that I went through.
Should we play the trailer so that because I mean your description of the movie, I've already seen it because you sent me the screener. But let's go ahead and play the trailer. I also have your Twitter or X on the screen, so you guys can go follow him. I also have the link for the movie gunsandmoses movie.com in the description. But I did get the trailer queued up here. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what this movie is all about.
This attack, it's personal to me. This crime against a Jewish community will not go unpunished.
His name is Clay Gibbons.
That is a sick joke.
And he drives a Matt Green GTI with Nazi insignia.
Get your hands off my son!
Your son's a member of a white nationalist hate group.
Dad! It was a rap room!
I lost everyone, but I survived.
The question is, are you going to be a sheep or a shepherd?
I told him what I found. Then he was killed.
What did you find?
Why you want to play detective?
Because no one else is.
Isn't the killer in custody?
The suspect is in custody.
You don't control me, Alan. You controlled you. You blew it.
Are you gonna find who did it and get me out of here? Yes, I am.
When your enemy tells you that he wants you dead, believe him.
There are no words, but there will be deeds.
So that's the trailer there, guys, and I've already seen the whole movie. It was a great movie, but I was actually shocked at the cast because you got Christopher Lloyd, you got Dermot Mulroney, Neil McDonough. There was a couple other people. What's Gary Busey's son? Gary Busey's
Jake
crazy.
Busey.
Jake Busey, thank you. I just watched Gary Busey. I just watched a clip of Gary Busey yesterday, and it was so funny because he's like, here are my favorite drinks: strawberry milkshakes, pine cone milkshakes. He's just this crazy guy. But yeah, I was surprised that I hadn't heard about it at all. And even the main character, I've seen him in Prison Break. I've seen him in a couple other things. So the movie essentially is inspired by that shooting in 2019. Were you like even aware of how relevant it would be now, especially with the uprising after October 7th? I think we've seen just the past two years. I mean, what shit? Yeah, 2 years. is it 2 or 3? It's been 2 years. Yeah,
2
years.
and a few months. Yeah.
2 in a couple of months. I say this all the time, right? I went viral for this, like, defense of Israel post, which really wasn't. I say this, I was like, my post was more anti-terrorist than pro-Israel. And my post was, what happened to September 12th mentality in America, right? Where it's like, we condemn radical Islamic terrorism in America, and now the Jews just went through this in Israel. How are we not standing by them when they stood by us? It just doesn't make sense to me. I thought that this was going to last a week. I'm not joking. I thought that not the war, but that little, I thought that it would be condemned immediately, and it's just been growing more and more and more. And but did you know that this was going to be so relevant that you probably kind of predicted this, or is it more like you've just know history and you know that it just keeps repeating?
Listen, we knew that a movie about Jews under attack who fight back was always going to be relevant, sadly.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, but no, we never could have imagined a horror like October 7th, nor the, just worldwide spike. Spike's just not even enough of a word. I mean,
Yeah.
just a rush of Jew haters to get loud and proud and proclaim.
But did you write this before? Did you write the movie before or after?
Before. Yeah, we wrote it in 2019 and we shot it before October 7th. We shot this movie in 2022, end of 2022.
Wow.
Any independent movie, it takes a long time to get through post-production and then bring it to market, festivals, etc. So yeah, the whole movie was made and in the can before October 7th. Am I surprised that this is happening? I mean, growing up with that Hungarian side of the family that went through the Holocaust, my grandmother lost her husband, but she and her sister and her 2 brothers all survived. They took different paths through the Holocaust to survive, and miraculously, they all survived. And we would get together, at these family gatherings, and they would always say, "Don't think that this couldn't that would happen to us couldn't happen here. It could happen anywhere." Now, we heard that so often, it was drilled into us, that if you'd asked me, could the Holocaust happen again? Could it happen in America? I would have said yes, because I'd been educated that it could always happen. But could I imagine something like that happening? No. And I'm not saying that America right now is 1930s Germany. It's not.
Not
by a long shot.
Not 1930s, but you know what? It's looking a lot like 1920s, and I don't like it. Yes.
And while I could not have imagined it, and I still, hesitate as I just did, now, is there a path? Could it happen? Is it visible? Is it understandable? Yeah. I mean, the Jew hatred that has always existed, and I'll talk in a moment about why I think it exists, but that has always existed in cycles. People who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, and we've just seen it so many times. It's kind of like a mass delusion that takes hold in a culture, and it's just happened too many times to believe that it couldn't happen again. And the modern world has all kinds of advantages of communication. In many ways, at least America is post-racist, which I do believe.
Until Obama. Obama brought it back.
The racism of the left.
Obama brought it back. Obama was like, "Yo, you guys, there's too many Eddie Murphy movies. Everybody's looking up to Michael Jordan. Let's crush that." Yeah,
exactly. But I think that at the end of the day, the reason the Obama people, right, were all about. They called it permission structures, right? But I think the better term is manufactured consent, right? And they're all about control. And the left has always been about control. And now you've got this unbelievable alliance, truly unholy alliance, between the jihadists and the leftists.
It's
right?
both.
And it was that
there's the Red Green Alliance and the Blue Green Alliance, where it's the jihad. You have people like Tucker Carlson, who are, just saying Qatar's our greatest ally. And I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? And you have the left who, right after October 7th, was in the streets of New York holding up swastikas. So you have these Nick Fuentes types, and you have these radical leftist types. And what I've been calling them is the woke left and the woke right. It's horseshoe.
Exactly.
It's horseshoe
It's a
theory.
horseshoe.
Yeah, so it's essentially horseshoe theory.
You know what? It's not even a horseshoe anymore. Now it's a circle.
It's getting close to a start. There's that horseshoe. Whoever that horse has got a fucked up foot. But yeah.
Exactly. Mind the gap.
The gap is getting smaller and smaller. But speaking of, there's a lot of statistics out there that show how Jews vote, right? And I would say that too many of them seem to vote left. And you said that you were a leftist. And I mean, you have the voting against your own interests argument. Now there's an argument that I guess they could make where they're like, well, I don't want to vote right either because of people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Alex Jones, etc. So what do you think is behind that? Because I mean, you're in that community, and you were a former leftist.
Yeah, I was a liberal. I wouldn't say I was
Liberal,
a leftist.
liberal.
I was more moderate than that.
Okay.
I think that American Jews, who sadly so many of them are really disconnected from the Bible, from Scripture, from the tradition, from religion. Religious Jews are absolutely politically conservative.
Yes, the Mamdani.
Pretty much.
Somebody just posted Mamdani with a bunch of Jews, and I go, those aren't Jews, those are props. And it's because
they're beards for him. Yeah, that's right.
They really are. But yeah, like I mean, so you think it's just secularism that's what's doing it?
I mean, there's more to it than that. I think that Jews first of all, the leftists of 2025. The Democrat Party of 2025, is drifted so far left.
Yeah, that Overton window
is probably somebody who was kind of a moderate liberal now is being called a Republican.
Yeah.
But how did they become so liberal? I think it was just an underdog mentality. Jews got kicked around in so many places. And then we were, sadly, these liberal rabbis, now religiously liberal, right? When you talk about Reform and conservative Jews, those are religiously liberal Jews. And I mean, we can. I don't know how interested your audience is in this, but within the Jewish tradition,
fuck really them, dude. You're here to talk to me. I don't give a shit what they think. They'll sit here and listen to it.
I mean,
I
think you'll find this interesting.
Screw.
Yeah, it's kind of a tragic break from the commandments and who we are and what we're supposed to be about. It started about 200 years ago in Germany. That Reform movement. It was kind of an assimilationist, imitate the German Christians. We're going to have, instead of synagogues, we're going to have temples. They're really churches. And then so-called people with called rabbis telling Jews that they don't have to live by the commandments, that they can untether themselves from the Torah. And it's a life of obligation and work and responsibilities to be a Torah Jew, to be a religious Jew. And so here's somebody telling them, oh, you don't have to do that anymore. You can eat whatever you want. You can go whenever you want. You can, join the people. And a lot of them just flock to it. It's not the first time in history that Jews ran away from their obligations. There's always been kind of a periphery.
We got thousands of years of that.
Exactly. Well, you always have a strong core, kind of the special forces of the Jewish people, really fulfilling all their obligations. And then, kind of a lot of people in the middle, which was just very traditional. And then at the outer edges, always people drifting away.
Yeah.
But that Reform movement about 200 years ago just kind of said to, millions of people, don't worry about it. We'll make up our own religion. It's really a make-believe religion.
It's like the Mormons.
With tragic consequences. And so what happened as a result of that is the Jewish soul is very attached, to God and to our obligations and to sort of fulfilling our mission of being a light unto the nations. Now, if he's not going to fulfill that mission in a life of Torah, the bill of goods that so many people signed on to was tikkun olam, which means repairing the world. Now, that is an absolute Jewish value, and the way it starts is repairing yourself, right? All of us are damaged goods. We all, have an evil inclination that we have to overcome. We all have to work to become that man or woman that we have the potential to be. That's every person has that
Yeah.
potential.
Agreed.
But when but when this kind of Reform Jewish movement started drifting toward this tikkun olam, and so they become wonderful founders of organizations to good stuff, feed the poor, shelter the homeless, do all kinds of good work. But that's supposed to be good work within a life of the commandments and a life of scripture, a life of cleaving to God, in the Jewish path. And they just, left the Jewish path and said, we're just going to do good. And that's going to be how we're going to be good Jews.
Yeah.
And that drift left them further and further away to where it was all basically kind of socialist tendencies.
Mm.
And meanwhile, Jews always are good at making money, having successful businesses, and very bright. I mean, we're a very studious culture. And because we've been persecuted for thousands of years, we're really able to, when the shit hits the fan,
Yeah.
we're able to get out of a country, go to a new place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the argument. The argument I hear all the time is Jews were kicked out of 109 countries, so what's the common denominator? I'm like, well, how many establishments were black people kicked out of, in the Jim Crow movement? Is it really always the fault because you have a high number? Also, we can pick apart that whole talking point and be like, well, it wasn't really 109 countries. They were kicked out of the same place and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. It's this argument.
No, but the problem for people who are trying to control the population is that with all the faults of the Jewish people and everything that I've just described, the one thing about the Jews is we're smart, we're educated, we're skeptical, and we're not easily controlled. And so if you're trying to control a population, the Jews make this wonderful scapegoat where you set up a system where the truth tellers are the bad guys, right? And so that becomes like the perfect thing. Oh no, those people are the ones causing our problems. They're successful. If they're successful in our society, it must be because they're exploiting our society.
I never hear this argument about Asians. Right? It's like Asians are very successful people, right? Asians
Yes,
are
they are.
incredibly successful people. They're doctors and lawyers and mathematicians and scientists, and I never hear this argument of, well, they're so successful, it must be some fucking, like globalist fucking movement. And honestly, you'd have more of an argument because, you have, I'm not saying all Asians are Chinese. I'm saying that China has a lot of intentions against America. Israel doesn't. And Israel is a country the size of New Jersey, whereas China is a country of billions of people. I just don't. This is what the argument of, just asking questions makes no sense, because you're asking targeted questions, you're asking leading questions, you're making insinuations in the form of questions. I prefer people like Jake Shields and Stu Peters who just say, I just hate Jews. And I'm like, at least you're fucking honest, dude. I mean, thank you. Thank you, at least.
Yeah, and Nick Fuentes. I mean, I listened to his Tucker Carlson interview, and so what he would say is, "Yeah, I was just asking questions. What is America getting out of helping Israel?" And all I got in return was rhetoric. Well, no, actually, you got answers. You got solid answers, and you dismiss them because it doesn't fit with your agenda.
Agreed.
But America has gotten a lot out of having a relationship with Israel, just as Israel's gotten a lot out of having a relationship with America.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
They're allies. They're countries.
It's
countries.
It's insane to me that people can't understand that there is a difference between the modern nation state of Israel, which is a strategic ally and partner with the United States of America. Israel founded in 1948, America founded in 1776. And Israel, the people, the Jews, the Abrahamic covenant, etc.
Yep.
The conflation between the two, and probably a lot of it is because you're using the same word, right? Jewish, Israel, right? Because there's Jews in ethnicity and secular Jews, and then there's religious Jews, and then you have Israel the people versus Israel the country. So you can make the argument that it's just a bunch of dumb people who can't, who are conflating things because they don't know how words work. But again, I don't see the same argument for different threats. It's like, for instance, Tucker Carlson, or Tucker Carlson saying Qatar is our greatest ally because we have a military base in Qatar. We have a military base in Cuba, right? Have you ever heard of what's the one in Afghanistan with the Joe Biden withdrawal?
Oh my God,
I'm blanking
What's it
on the
called?
name.
Is it Kandahar?
No, it wasn't Kandahar, but you understand what I'm talking about. The one where all these people are falling off the planes.
Bagram?
Yes, Bagram. So Bagram Air Base, does that make Afghanistan an ally? And so the allyship argument, where people are like, Israel's not an ally because they have AIPAC, which is an American political action committee. I'm not a fan of any PACs, but I mean, if you're going to say that, oh, Israel controls America because of AIPAC. Okay, then Qatar controls America because of the $2 billion that they're sending into our college institutions. It's the double standard. It's the double speak. It's the hypocrisy. And that's what everybody with a brain, I think, sees. And I have one. Thank God I have a brain, because it took me about 5 minutes of scrutiny after October 7th, seeing all the people making dumb arguments before I went, you know what? This doesn't make sense. I'm going to take their side. And I was amenable. I was amenable to being proven wrong. I mean, hey, I started with let's not get into a September 10th mentality. Let's have a September 12th mentality. But if I found out on my journey that I'm actually wrong, Israel really does control America, the Jews really are this, shadow force of tiny hat wearing people that are trying to destroy America, I would have come out and said, you know what, you guys are right. I just haven't found it in over 2 years.
Because it's not there.
That's a good argument.
Let's just back up a second. If you talk about what happened in Iran in 1979, right? So you had basically a monarchy. The Shah was a king. And so you had an Islamist revolution. Now, that Islamist revolution would not have happened but for the huge movement of support that the Ayatollahs got among the university students, right? It was really the college students that made it happen. And it was, in fact, a socialist and Islamist, allyship to flip that country. And what the kids were obviously about is not becoming Islamists and putting on burqas. They thought it was going to be a communist revolution. And as soon as the Islamists got into power, and the college kids said, okay, hey, we helped you get in. Now we want to have our socialist paradise.
Yeah.
And the Ayatollah killed all the leaders.
Well, it's that's the old poem. First they come for the socialists. These stupid idiots don't realize you're the first people they take out because you are the unarmed, gullible population. Exactly.
So they were the useful idiots that got these people in, and then they seized absolute control, took away all free press, everything, and created the #1 state sponsor of terrorism around the world. And that is the playbook that they are trying to use in America. They've used it all through Europe. I'm no expert on Islam, but you don't have to be an expert just to listen to what they're telling you about how political Islam works. There's 2 regions. The whole world is divided into 2 regions: the House of Islam and the House of War. So that the House of War means the place where Islam has not yet conquered.
And also with Islam, it's in the Quran. They treat the Brotherhood of Muslims, not the Muslim Brotherhood, the Brotherhood of Muslims, over any country, over any legal system, over any framework. So they're kind of incompatible with any other nation that they inhabit. It's really ironic that what is it? Douglas Murray said a quote. It wasn't Douglas Murray's quote, but it's like, tell me what you accuse the Jews of doing, and I'll tell you what you're guilty of. Right? All of the Muslims, all of the Islamic apologists, all of the Islamists, they all say that the Jews are an expansionist type of
That Jewish Americans have dual
dual
loyalty.
loyalty, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, you're describing Islam with what you're saying. They're saying they're committing a genocide. Nigeria right now is like, hundreds of thousands of Christians being slaughtered. That's a genocide. Counterterrorism is not a genocide. I mean, not to downplay the horrific Palestinians that are dying, the innocent Palestinians, I'm sure there are. But even if you take emotion out of it and you just look at sheer numbers, 40,000, 50,000 in a war, that's not a genocide. I mean, you can't have a country who's committing an ethnic cleansing when 20% of the population of Israel proper is Arab. They have Arabs and Muslims on their Supreme Court. What Israel is doing is they are not trying to expand. They're actually trying to create peace and bring people in. Whereas, look at Muslim nations. The Christian population in every Muslim nation around the world has gone down to like zero. The Jewish people can't go to a Muslim nation without fear of being killed. So this whole argument, it's just like I said. It took me about a week to figure it out. You people are lying.
And now you can give credit, so to speak, where credit is due. They've been fighting this war for 1400 years. They're very good at it. And they've got this thing so rigged now in America that, just like in Europe, that they're taking over, right? I mean, Europe, the European cities have fallen.
Oh, the rape statistics, it's bad.
No-go zones in Paris. The mayor of most of the large cities in the UK. But the thing is, they've got it rigged to where if we have this conversation, we're racist.
Yeah, you're Islamophobic.
We're Islamophobic. And
Yeah.
isn't that a weird term? Every other Jew hatred, anti-Semitism, racism against blacks, sexism. But with them, it's called Islamophobia.
Yeah,
Why is their racism called phobia?
I told Sid Rosenberg on his show. I said he keeps repeating it over and over again. He's like, Misfit Patriot said this quote, and I love this quote. He said, we're not Islamophobic enough. I was like, but also, in that regard, Islamophobia is an oxymoron because a phobia is an irrational fear. It is completely it is completely rational to be afraid of Islam when they're in their own parliaments chanting death to America, when they are responsible for 66,000 terrorist events over the past 50 years, when they are expanding and they are essentially trying to colonize every nation that they get into. When the largest city
when they claim they're refugees from an oppressive system, and then they recreate that oppressive system everywhere they go.
And you also, now you have Mamdani in New York. It's like, yeah, I am afraid of Islam, but it is not a phobia. That is a perfectly rational fear.
Exactly. And it is not an accident. It is not an accident. It's not a coincidence, right? That they've got it rigged over here, because that's what they bought and paid for by putting so much money into the universities and funding initially Arab studies departments, and then putting money into the gender studies departments and into the color studies departments.
Those protests didn't come out of nowhere, all right?
It didn't come out of nowhere.
Those billions of dollars, they were putting it. I mean, Yuri Bezmenov talked about this in the 80s, where he said the way to take over America is to indoctrinate 2 generations. And Islam was like, sign me up. They go, that's how we get it. They go for the institutions. They go for the youth because the youth is dumb, right? That's not an insult. You're just dumb. There's a reason why we don't let you drive, all right? Like, you're dumb. So if you're dumb, you're impressionable. If you're impressionable, you're easy to manipulate. If you're easy to manipulate, throw a bunch of money at a bunch of college professors. Say, hey, we're gonna keep funding you as long as you teach kids that Islam is great. And then when October 7th happens, instead of having the reaction that we had on 9/11, now all of a sudden the reaction is actually the people who were just attacked, 1,200 people slaughtered, raped, murdered, women, children, they're the bad guy. This is actually just a resistance force. And I'm like, okay, so looks like that was a solid investment in Qatar's mind.
Exactly, it was a solid investment. The whole thing is working. It is not a bug in the system that Jews, are being scapegoated. It's the feature. again, because the Jews won't be tricked so easily. You have to get rid of them. You have to have a scapegoat. And so when they're teaching the young people that you live in a racist, evil country, and that the only way to be a good and virtuous person is to give a free pass and promotions and elevation to anyone, who is brown or minority or especially trans, anybody who has that emotional challenge, shall we call it, lift them to the top of the heap, and the oppressors, right, are the white males,
Hmm.
and never mind the Jews aren't really white at all, but just say that Jews are basically the arch white male, and that they have to be taken on and taken out, and that if you say, that, hey, wait, this is wrong, what they're trying to undermine America, they're just using the arguments against Jews and the West, which is
Hmm.
to say America, to weaken and demoralize our population. I mean, if you start to say this stuff, then they brand you with that Islamophobic, racist, sticker, and then the mainstream media comes after you. I mean, like, think how effectively they have wielded this fifth generation warfare against the American population.
Hmm.
And thank God there's people like you and so many people, who are awake to it, who are calling them out. And we're just, America has that same quality of we won't be lied to,
Yeah,
and as
that's the one
Lincoln
thing.
said, you can't fool all the people all the time,
Yeah,
and we are a common sense country.
it's one of those things where it's like you can get away with it for a while, but I think that Americans in general, especially, like I don't think they have this in the UK, in Europe, but Americans, because of our First Amendment, just ingrained love of freedom of speech, we want to be able to speak and talk, but we've also been speaking and talking so freely that we have been able to determine truth from lies more than other
Yeah.
nations. And when no, it's a human quality that nobody likes being lied to, right? So you can get away with lying to, people for a while, but I think eventually, we sort of reject that. That's why mainstream media's ratings started tanking, because, for years and years and years, CNN, like you were saying earlier, CNN, MSNBC, they were just lying to us. Like, mainstream media has now bred, unfortunately, new media, and new media is like MSM on steroids, where you have
Hmm.
people like Tucker Carlson who are literally just propagandizing immediately. But because it's so fast, I think it's also going to crash faster. Right? I think that people are already calling Tucker Carlson out. They're calling him Tucker Carlson, right? It's
Yeah.
like, so hopefully I'm right. Yeah,
That crazy laugh of it.
right. Like, hopefully I'm right. I think I'm right. But we'll see. Well, it really is going to be over the next year, 2 years. This is going to be pressure tested, and we're gonna see how we come out. So, but yeah, speaking of MSM lies and everything, let's jump over to California. So, you live in California still?
I do. I do.
Okay.
I live in
So
Los
you are
Angeles, just a few miles from Hollywood itself.
you're a gun guy in California. Tell me about what that's like. Because I mean, I also have a question about Hollywood. I'll let you pick. Which one would you like to dive into? Would you like to dive into the Hollywood environment in California, or the gun environment in California? We'll do both, but you pick first.
They're certainly not the same thing. People here. Um, First of all, there are definitely are undercurrents in Hollywood. There's always been conservatives in Hollywood, but if they want to keep working, they got to keep their mouth shut. I mean, this is just such a liberal town. Um, I mean, to a crazy extent.
Mm,
And there's these executives, they're more afraid of their interns,
yeah.
being called out by their interns, than about giving the population what it wants. I think what's been great actually is woke, go woke, go broke, right? I mean, Hollywood has keep putting that agenda into the big movies, and America is just sick of it, right?
Yeah.
America wants to be entertained. They
Yeah.
don't go to the movies for a lecture. COVID, they stayed home. Everybody now has nice home theaters. It's very difficult to get people to come out to the movies. Um, People are streaming, so the DVD market died. So Hollywood has had a lot of challenges, right? But theatrical business very tough, DVD business basically gone, uh, and so and at the same time they're trying to keep that woke agenda, and people are not interested. At the end of the day, Hollywood wants to make money.
Yeah.
So I would say that the political tenor of films has shifted a little bit back to center.
Well,
Not all
they're
the way,
trying to. I
but a
mean,
little bit.
I don't think they're trying to. I think they are. Like Billy Bob Thornton, Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson, and Zachary Levi. They're all bringing studios to Texas now, and they're trying to
Yeah.
create. They're trying to create a conservative version of Hollywood. Also, not outside of Hollywood, you have TV shows, streaming shows. One of the best shows I think that's on TV right now is Landman, right? Which is, it's more of like a conservative thing. Like Taylor Sheridan, he does all of these not
Tulsa King, great
Tulsa
show.
King. I was just watching it last night. These not woke shows are sort of getting so much praise from the audience, and I think that Netflix, was it Netflix or it was something. I was just reading a stat about how they're going to, or might even be the movie industry in general. They're going to get rid of about half of the gay and trans characters in movies and shows next year that they had the year before. So like characters in shows and movies, they're cutting that down because, like you said, go woke, go broke. But I mean, the stereotype for Jews is they're in Hollywood, right? So if you're going through this,
Yeah, it didn't help me. I'll tell you that.
Well,
here we are making a movie about Jews defending themselves.
Yeah.
And we had to make it completely independently.
Yeah.
We raised the money just from investors. I went around with my pitch deck, showed them what the movie would look like, what the story was, what we were trying to do, and just raised the money completely independently. I think we made a great movie. You've seen it.
Yeah, I
entertaining
really
movie.
liked it. The cast is great. It was definitely, I liked the story. And I liked how it went. It flowed very well. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of Neil McDonough. Neil McDonough, ever since I saw this clip of him talking about how he wouldn't do a sex scene because he loved his wife, I was like, I like that guy. I go, you can't.
Yeah.
I go, you can't. If I like Chris Pratt for the same reason. I like good people. I will watch movies and shows with good people in them if I know they're a good person. And I think a lot of people, do that. Like you have that guy that plays Reacher, and he was like, Donald Trump's a fascist and BLM is great and everything like that. And I'm like, damn it, I really like this show, and now I don't want to watch it, right? And I would prefer. I like Dolly Parton's quote. She goes, "I'm not a politician, I'm an entertainer, so stop asking me about politics." I would prefer they all shut the fuck up and do their job, and I don't need to know your politics.
Exactly.
I really
been rough for me with Pink Floyd.
It's just like the
My
NFL.
favorite band,
Just like the
and Waters
NFL.
can't shut up about Israel.
It's just like the sports leagues. Shut the fuck up and play the game, right? I mean, you can have your opinions, sure, but are you a political activist or are you an entertainer? Because you're gonna have to pick one.
Yeah. And so, we made this movie. Like you said, we got some big stars in it. Working with the legendary Christopher Lloyd was so much fun.
Oh my God, I know. I saw him and I was like, what?
And Neil, I mean, what a pro, what a gentleman. I mean, really just a great cast. And so we finished the movie. We had a premiere with 1,000 people. I mean, they were just cheering, applauding, gasping. There's some scary points in the movie. And then it was time to bring it to market. And the thing is, the Hollywood companies, they know very well that a movie like this, that's pro Second Amendment, pro America, pro faith. Again, it's an entertaining, edge of your seat thriller, but it's not woke. And if you're going to make a movie that is not woke and shows another side of America and of these issues, so you're not going to have the support of the New York Times, LA Times, CNN, MSNBC, CIA, deep state complex.
It's a double threat, because you have the pro Jew. This is what happened with Sound of Freedom. You know, Sound of Freedom was
Exactly.
it was shelved for years. By the time that movie came out, the little girl in the movie wasn't a little girl anymore, right? And it was because it was about the sex trafficking industry, and it was a true story.
It
And
was a true story.
you know, so
And
what I
they were
was
able to break through
they
in a
were
huge way, but they had a
eight,
$10 million marketing budget,
they had Angel
and we
Studios,
did
yeah,
not.
yeah,
And that's what it takes. Like, people just haven't heard of you. You know, I'll just be very frank with you. Our marketing budget was well under $2 million. You know, and so we were able to get the word out. We were in 500 theaters. Um, but these days, you know, even studio movies like F1 that are huge and everywhere, and
yeah.
studio movies used to open on 2,000 theaters. Now it's 4,000 theaters. So there's just no room, you know, for independent movies to get out there. But then even those movies don't make money in their
Yeah, well, I
theatrical
mean,
run.
what do you think about this? You're somebody in the industry. I'm coming at this from just somebody seeing the headlines, but what do you think about this whole Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount like merger, hostile takeover thing? And because a lot of people are into streaming, that's why we don't go to the movies anymore. We get our movies at the house within a few weeks to a couple of months after they come out. We're like, I'll just wait. All right. So
Right.
what do you think about this merger and what it's going to do to the industry?
I mean, it's hard to tell, and now it's hard to tell which way it's going to go. We don't know if it's going to be Netflix buys Warner Brothers, or maybe Paramount and Larry Ellison, you know, Skydance will. Larry Ellison is a conservative, so he's doing a lot of good. I haven't really seen CBS change that much, but I'm hopeful. But Paramount Plus has got a lot of great shows on it.
Mhm.
Netflix is super woke,
I know.
so
That's what
we'll see.
that's what everybody's worried about. They're like they
Yeah,
want
exactly. There'll be one less buyer, one less place, you know, that can have a dissenting voice, so to speak, a non-woke voice. So we'll see where that ends up. But I'm just telling my personal experience, right? So now we are available. Thank God, we're on Amazon, we're on Apple, YouTube TV. It's easy to find Guns N' Moses. You can watch it at home right now. But that journey, right? That journey of bringing it to the public, you know, the mainstream media just embargoed us, right?
Mhm.
So our movie with big stars could not be more timely. Jews Under Attack Fight Back, after in an post October 7th world, again with these stars, and you know, a decent for an independent movie theatrical footprint. Ultimately, we were in 500 theaters. Obviously, it should have had, you know, 100 to 150 reviews. It has 11, right? And that's with an audience score on Rotten Tomatoes of 93. Like, people love the movie. The audience loves the movie.
Yeah.
But the mainstream media, you know, just ignores it, and that made it very difficult to get the word out. And so, thank God, it's happening now just by word of mouth. I mean, the buzz is tremendous.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is if you look at IMDb, which shows up on Amazon Prime, it's a very mediocre number. I think right now it's 5.4. But if you actually look at the Guns N' Moses page on IMDb, you see that we have an inverted bell curve. You know, you don't have to know much about statistics to know that everything, you know, where there's across the population, you're going to get a bell curve. But ours is like so many 10s and 9s and 8s. People love the movie, and this huge stack of 1s. Okay, now look, from
you
the
got
trailer,
the haters, right? Oh, sorry.
the haters. I mean, look at this trailer. You can see that this movie is not a 1 out of 10. I mean, a 1 out of 10 is just unwatchable garbage.
Yeah.
But the stack of 1s is just people who are ideologically opposed.
5.4 out of 10. Yeah.
Exactly. It's just ideological opposition, you know, to Jews with guns.
Yeah.
And there it is. You see that stack of 1s is unnatural.
Oh,
You know,
they did it to me. So when the woke mob came for me, my business page got 750 negative reviews in 1 week. Right? I'm a small business. I only had probably 10 reviews, and they were all positive, all 5 stars, because I do a really good job. I'm really good at what I do. And it was funny, right? So some of the reviews were actually really funny. Like, one of them was like, hired this guy to do my shower and he put a swastika in the tiles, right? Like, it's like, and it was obvious what was happening. And what ended up happening was I got a call from a customer and they were like, I'd like to hire you. I go over to the guy's house. shower remodel, normal shower remodel. So I was like, yeah, it's going to be around $10,000. Guy goes into his closet, he comes out, he puts $10,000 down, and this is weird. This doesn't happen, right? Usually people are like, I'll review it, we'll get back to you, I'll pay you with a check or something. And he put the money down, and he goes, but this was the first meeting, and I didn't even give him the estimate yet. Like, this was an estimate. I didn't give him the invoice yet. He put the money down and he goes, I saw what they're doing to you online. I want to hire you right away. I want to make sure you get the job because I see what they're doing to you online with the fake reviews. I don't care what you said or whatever. And he goes, take the money. 10,000 he gave me.
Wow.
The job was only, I ended up bidding the job at around 10,550. So he was only 550 off. But I was like, this is sometimes, unfortunately, you do get those reviews, but sometimes people look at this and they see that spike and they immediately go, okay, I get it. This isn't about the movie. This isn't about the actual film at all. So
exactly.
Guns N' Moses open strong. I mean, yeah, well, I mean, guys, go and see if you can offset this a little bit and head over to IMDb, give a review for that. But what do you think the industry in Hollywood, right? I mean, like I was saying, there's the stereotypical, like, Jews in Hollywood. That's what everyone says. The Jews control Hollywood. They control the media. They control this. They control that. But you're telling me that you're a pro to a Jew trying to make a movie, and Hollywood actually isn't into it, right? Because
for sure. For sure.
So, I mean, obviously you don't control the media.
Because
you're not fitting into the stereotype.
Points. Right. They have the talking points, right?
Yeah.
And gun control is in the talking points, and pro-trans is in the talking points. And they stick to their catechism, right? And their make-believe Bible against all odds until the wave goes another way. I mean, these people are sheep, and they're all paranoid.
And how long,
there's a sad lack of principles.
How long have you been training with fire? I mean, I don't know. You can kind of see behind me. I got some on the wall. I got them all over the place here. I actually took the photo for that thumbnail right before we started. I was like, I'm gonna grab my 300 blackout and just do a little pistol. But I'm a huge gun guy. You have people like I'm watching the people that are with the conspiracy theories about Charlie Kirk with the 300 with the 30-06. I'm debunking people all the time. The anti-gun community is insane, but you also have the conspiracy theorists and all this stuff. So I love talking about guns. I don't do gun content, but I did have Pew Pew Jew on here as a guest. I don't know if you know who that is.
Sure.
I can't remember his real name, but his handle, look him up on Instagram. He's called the Pew Pew Jew, and he's a pro 2A Jewish content creator. What is it like?
Again,
what is it like in the
Orthodox
Jewish
Jews,
community? Yeah, what is it like in the Jewish community overall?
Orthodox Jews are politically conservative and armed.
Yeah,
we're into guns. I said, I didn't grow up that way, and so I've only been really into it for about 6 years.
Okay.
But we train a lot, and you see, so it's interesting, right? In Hollywood, how many movies have there been? Thousands and thousands, where a person who's not inexperienced with guns needs to learn how to shoot. And it's usually a little 15-second montage, usually tin cans on a fence, misses the first, then he hits it, and 20 seconds later, the guy's a dead shot.
Yeah.
So that's not the real world in any way.
No. And
shooting is very difficult. It's a perishable skill. To shoot accurately and safely under pressure takes so many reps, and just building that muscle memory. And you never actually see real firearms learning and training in a movie.
Yeah.
It's weird, I guess, because these Hollywood people don't actually learn, so they don't think to write it.
No, I like that part
script.
I like that part of the movie where you basically went through the real and it was like the actors, you must have put them through training. The rabbi, I don't know the main character's real name. Mark Feuerstein. I was watching his press, and I was watching his grip, and I was like, they trained him. Like, you guys really trained him.
That's exactly right. And then there was some stuff that he actually learned on camera. So there's that moment, where he learns about the wall, and bringing the trigger pressure just to there, and then
Yep.
letting the bang surprise him, and returning to the wall, feel the click, and just be ready. And it kind of like clicked literally for him, and you see it in his eyes on screen. It's a great moment.
Mm.
And I've traveled a lot with the movie. I talked to a lot of audiences, a lot of Jewish audiences, and I'll tell you, the politics in the Jewish world are shifting. I mean, when enough Jews are realizing that the liberals and the leftists, especially, are not our friends,
Yeah.
that they have this alliance with the jihadists, Jews are waking up. Not in huge numbers yet, but quite a bit.
It happened
And a
in
lot of
Israel
people are
too. In Israel, there
sure.
was a massive surge in firearm registration after October 7th.
Oh, for sure.
And
And they
it's
made it easier.
unfortunate that that's what it takes. It's unfortunate that's what
Exactly.
it takes. We should
But
be
one thing I always say to audiences is, okay, so now you're ready to protect yourself, and you're going to go out and get a gun. If you buy that gun and you put it in a drawer and you think that you're ready on the day, God forbid, danger comes, you're deluded. You have, you're not safe. You're not going to protect yourself. You might harm yourself. It takes training. It takes ongoing, extensive training. And really, that training is not just in a little, firing range, telephone booth where you take the gun off a table, pick it up,
yeah,
fire, put it down.
yeah, I tell
You have to
people all
have
the
a
time.
draw stroke. You have to know how to get your weapon out and on target
Yeah,
in a
so
hurry, in the dark, while
I
you're moving, while you're seeking cover. I mean,
I tell people every time. So I wanted to do an event where I brought Jewish people out to Texas, and it's hard to do. I still will. I'll revisit it. But people ask me all the time. They go like, what do you suggest I do if I want to buy a firearm? I've had this dozens of times. I go to a range with bays and actual training facility, right? Go there. When you buy the gun, ask them if they have a training program, right? Because the range I go to, bullet hole, they have a sign up system for the EDC license, and they also have a trained instructor that will run you through drills, do actual defense training, all this stuff. That's what you really need. You like buying a gun and shooting a target. Sure, you're going to know how to shoot a gun, but you're not going to know what to do with it in a real life situation.
exactly.
In a real life situation, I have a laser training system where I just in my house, in my apartment, I just draw, fire. I just draw and fire, and the laser will hit a target, and my phone looks at the target and it shows me how accurate I am. That's
Yeah.
something that you can also do. Get like a dry fire system where you're actually learning, and you don't even need the laser. Just learn how to pull your gun out of your holster, point it, and shoot it with practice, because it's like going to the gym. It's reps.
It's reps. You need the reps. It is a nice thing of modern technology that we now have red dots. We have optics. But finding the red dot, when you present the weapon, like, people are amazed how difficult that is. Because if you're just a little bit offline, you can't see the dot,
And
and then you have to find
this.
it under pressure.
I did this for the longest time because I was so used to training with iron sights. With iron sights, you got to close one eye. With red dots, you don't. So I was like, every time, and then I would do videos, and I would show somebody. They'd be like, "Open your eye," and I'm like, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It does take repetition. It takes so many reps, and you can still shoot a red dot with your eye closed. But it's better to have both open and learn your dominant eye will actually line up.
Exactly. And now you can focus on the target, right?
Exactly.
That's
You have your
since time
peripherals.
immemorial.
You have your
The
peripherals
target was out of
open.
focus.
If there's a secondary threat, you have this eye open instead of closed. There's a lot of things that I could teach people. We could do another 2 hours on this, so we won't go there. I do want to get one thing kind of unrelated to this whole thing. Just sort of found this out right as we were getting up. A Talmudist, okay? The Talmud, I have never seen the dumbest people on the internet like hyperfixate on a subject more than I have on the Talmud.
Yeah.
It's something, I am not even Jewish, and I get it all the time, right? So you said that you're an accidental Talmudist. let me just give you the quick one, and then I'll give you the floor because I'm sure you're more of an expert on this than me. But I did have a Talmudic expert on, and we discussed this. There's the Jesus is burning in feces, and there's the you can sleep with 3-year-old babies, and all of these excerpts out of the Talmud that I get. And what I've explained to people, what I've said to the critics, right, is every single time they do that, I go, "What is the Talmud?" That's my number one question. I go, "What is it?"
Right.
And they say it's the holy book of the Jews. I go, "No, it isn't." I go, "No, it isn't." I go, and then I say it's a 1,500-year Joe Rogan podcast where every guest is a rabbi. That's what I say.
That's a pretty good description. It's also the original internet.
Yes,
absolutely. It's hyperlinked across the centuries. Sure. So the Talmud basically is the oral tradition in Judaism, and it's really the oral tradition of Scripture. Because if you're a Christian, okay, so the Christian Bible, 3/4 of it is the Hebrew Bible, and the Bible starts with the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, the 5 books of Moses, and the Torah was given. The 10 Commandments were given, but the Torah with it at Mount Sinai to 2 million people is the greatest moment in human history when God revealed God's self to these 2 million people, gave the commandments, and said, "These are the rules that you shall live by." Right, and then this is what's expected of you, and this is these are what eternal truths are. This is what real values are. And these are the laws that you're going to bring into the world. And the Jews are going to be a light unto the nations. It's that they're the caretakers, the custodians of Scripture and of this tradition, and bringing it into the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the Torah was given in 2 parts: the written Torah and the oral Torah. And so, why was there a need for an oral Torah? Because just like the American Constitution, right? It's a law. It's a principled law for the people, but it can't cover every situation.
Yeah, you have the amendments. You have the amendments, and that you have the Bill of Rights, and then you have the Constitution, right?
Yeah, but how are you going to apply constitutional law to a question that the founding fathers never could have imagined, like, you know, a hospital keeping a person alive when they're brain dead, you know,
exactly.
And how we're going to handle that? That's just not something they could have imagined. But the principles are there, and so the job of your educated jurists or your elders in every generation is to apply these principles to new situations, and that's really what the Talmud is all about.
Yeah. And why do you call yourself why do you call yourself an accidental Talmudist?
So like I told you earlier, I didn't grow up religious. When I reconnected as an adult after my grandmother's passing, my wife and I started going to synagogue on Saturdays and plugging into the tradition and the spirituality, the musicality, and the learning, right? The deep Torah learning. And I was taking classes from various rabbis, and they would all mention the Talmud because it's really a record of our wisest sages, thousands of them over the centuries, arguing with each other about, well, what is God's will for us in every aspect of life, from the way we put our shoes on in the morning, to the foods we eat, to the charity that we give, the contracts we enter, the businesses we run. There's a right way, a righteous way, a holy way to run everything. And they argue about it, right? And so when people say the Talmud says, that's a nonsense statement, right?
Yeah.
It's like saying, if you look at all of Shakespeare, right, there's thousands and thousands of characters in Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So characters say all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That's not Shakespeare, right? If you've got Iago and Othello saying evil things,
it's why
that doesn't mean Shakespeare is evil. It means there's an evil character.
It's why I use the analogy of the Joe Rogan podcast, because on Joe Rogan you had Milo Yiannopoulos, or whatever the hell his name is, saying that he really liked it when he was molested by a priest. He was like into it. And if you wrote that down in a book and then 1,500 years later somebody read it, they'd be like, all of Joe Rogan's guests think that you should like being raped by priests. It's like, it's not.
Or they would even say Joe Rogan says, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
The show says, exactly. So I was taking classes, and every rabbi would mention the Talmud. And so I was very curious. It was clearly some kind of a collection of wisdom and a reservoir of wisdom. And I wanted to read it. But if you look at your viewers and listeners who are old enough to remember the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? This is
Yes.
big set, right? 23
I'm
big
old
books.
enough. Unfortunately, we had one. We had one in the house. I remember it vividly.
So that's 23 large books, the wisdom of humanity. The Talmud is 73 books, the wisdom of the Jews. It's just vast. And
It takes 7 years to read under tutelage by a rabbi. So, and that's
exactly.
that's
That's
what
called
daily.
the Daf Yomi program, and
Yeah.
that's what my story is. So I was always very curious about it, and then whenever I would go to this, Judaic Jewish bookstore to get a book or a prayer book or the objects of Jewish ritual life, whether it's a kippah, a head covering, or the tzitzis, the fringes that we wear, or whatever, candlesticks. I would go into that store and I would see, that vast collection, the Talmud. I'd be curious about it, but it's so big, I wouldn't know where to begin.
It's
I
intimidating.
didn't have that Jewish education as a kid. I didn't go to a yeshiva. So I was just intimidated. I said, I guess it's not for me, not in this lifetime. And I'd walk away. And that repeat probably a dozen times between, that time when my grandmother's passing and about 7 years later, when I was finally in that store and I had that same thought process. I wouldn't know where to begin. I don't know if I'm allowed to read it. Maybe you have to be a rabbi. I don't know. So I started to walk away for the dozenth time, and then something stopped me. And I said, this is ridiculous. They're just books. And I mentioned I went to a good college earlier. I used to not admit this, but now that it's become a badge of shame, I'll just share that I went to Harvard.
Okay.
I was an English major. I went to law school before I went to film school. I'm an educated guy. And my house is full of books. My wife and I are book people. And I just said, okay, they're just books. There must be a book one of the Talmud. I'll get that and see what it's like. I mean, and I found book one. I take it to the counter. And the kid at the register says, oh, you're doing Daf Yomi. I said, what's that? My Hebrew's not good. And he looked at me really strangely,
Yeah.
sort of pulled his glasses down to the tip of his nose to look at me over them, as if to say, are you kidding?
You're going to read this without, yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh man, Daf Yomi must be a code. If you don't know the code, you're not allowed to read these books. Now he's got to get rid of me without embarrassing me. It's so awkward. He says Daf Yomi means page of the day. And it's a program where people around the world read the whole Talmud, 1 page a day.
Yep.
Takes 7.5 years.
Yep.
And today is day one. Now, this would have been amazing if it was month one of a 7.5 year cycle. It would have been kind of like a little miracle if it was week one.
Yeah.
But it was, in fact, day one of a 7.5 year cycle that I happened to buy book one of the Talmud. When God wants to send you a message in the language of events, he can speak very clearly.
Yeah.
And that was the message that I got. Okay, I'm doing Daf Yomi. So Daf Yomi, a page of Talmud, because of all that commentary over the centuries, it takes like an hour. And that's if you're flying through it, just skimming and not you're not able to really go deep. But it's an hour a day, 7 days a week for 7.5 years. And but I felt like God put the book in my hand, so I stayed with it. And 7.5 years later, I did what's called completing Shas. I completed that journey.
Mm-hmm.
I'd learned a lot by then. I'm a filmmaker by training, a communicator. But I just started sharing what excited me in that tradition. It became a column first at the Jewish Journal, and then a blog and a Facebook page, and it just took off. I guess if we have a secret sauce, my wife and I do this together, it's that we're communicators and we're able to make it accessible to everybody without dumbing it down.
Yeah.
And mix in a fair amount of humor as well. And in this, and so that's how we really grew our platform. It's called Accidental Talmudist. Jewish humor is a big part of that tradition. I also tell a lot of jokes. Eventually, Skyhorse Publishing, who does all the good canceled authors, from RFK Jr. and Melania Trump, Dershowitz, etc. They came to me and said, let's do a joke book. So I'm an author now with a best-selling book, Let My People Laugh, greatest Jewish jokes of all time. And in this recent cycle, which began in 2020, right before COVID, I've been teaching Daf Yomi. So I teach a Talmud class an hour a day, every day, 6 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Thursday. When Shabbos ends on Saturday night, Sunday through Thursday, when it ends Saturday night, and on Fridays at noon Pacific.
Yeah.
So I'm somewhat, I would not call myself an expert because there are rabbis who know so much more than me, but I know a lot more than regular people.
Even it's a lifelong. The Talmud is a lifelong journey, right? Where it's like even if you do the even if you finish the damn thing, you don't remember. I do the Bible in a year with Father Mike Schmidt, and that's an audio reading. I've already read the Bible, but I forgot a lot of it, And then I do the audio,
and it's endless.
Bible.
You could read a Bible every year for 50 years, and you'll be learning something every day.
100%. So what I'm on, let's say I was on like day 55, right? And I'm on day 55, and we're in Levitical law now. And then you go, what the fuck happened in Genesis? I don't remember Noah something, and it really is like that in Christianity, Judaism, I assume Islam, where these stupid motherfuckers who are going, oh yeah, have you read the Talmud? I'm like, have you? Like, because I'm still working on the Bible, dude. I'm a Christian, like if you're not an expert on, like I said this with my other co-host Sean. I was like, if you're not an expert on something, you can talk about it, but shut the fuck up when another expert says something. Like if I was like, this is what Candace Owens and Ian Carroll and their theories about guns, okay? These stupid assholes are like, there's no way Charlie Kirk's neck stopped at 30-06. It's physically impossible. I'm like, have you heard of Martin Luther King Jr.? You know what he was shot with? A fucking 30-06. Was there an exit wound? No. I am a hunter. I hunt. Like, I'm going this weekend. I put a 6.5 Creedmoor down a hog's face, and I pulled a round out of a spine. There are dozens and dozens of these documented cases. But what I'm saying is, if you're not an expert on guns, and you're somebody like Ian Carroll and Candace Owens, and you make a comment like that, and then a bunch of gun experts go, you're fucking wrong, you should probably shut up. It would be like me trying to make a conspiracy theory out of Paul Walker's death because I read there was a loose distributor cap wire, so obviously the Jews killed him. It's like, no. It's like, I don't know shit. Shut up. But on that
they're
note,
also telling us what is a makeable shot at 100 yards or 200 yards or 300 yards. I mean, they just don't know anything. And these are the same people that are equally arrogant and overconfident in their opinions about everything. Economy, religion,
they're experts
politics, geopolitics, military. They're experts on everything.
Everything.
I'd like to say something about that. I think you're going to love this if you haven't heard it already. Something that is a real challenge, I think, for all of us now is something that's happened in the modern world that never existed before, right? So throughout the whole history of humanity, where do young people get wisdom, right? I mean, first of all, there's a school of hard knocks, okay? But if they're going to learn something, if they're going to learn something from others, it was obvious that the place to look for wisdom is our elders, right? Because they've gone through the school of hard knocks. They're going to tell you from their hard-won experience the wisdom that they have received from their elders that's passed down through the generations. And so that's the normal mode of transmitting wisdom throughout history. You could call it vertical learning.
Yeah.
Now, today, young people, where do they look for wisdom? To all the people their own age that they perceive, that they think that on social media, what they're seeing is a fair sampling of what people their age are saying and thinking around the world. And so if they all agree, according to social media, that people my age believe this, or that is wisdom.
Well, this was
Candace Owens. Horizontal learning. And that's very bad for our society.
Candace Owens' argument for her, Erica Kirk comes out and says, stop, right? She's like, just stop doing this. Candace Owens' argument was, the majority of people agree with me. And like, no. The majority of your comment section agrees with you, first of all,
Exactly.
right? But like when I watched the debate between Nick Fuentes and Dinesh D'Souza, I was watching an intellectual, older person debate a 27-year-old moron. And Dinesh was methodically picking him apart and winning every argument on the points. Every single one of them made him look like a clown to somebody like me. You read the comment section.
Dinesh always brings the facts.
I can't wait. He's gonna be on. I can't wait to talk to him.
I'll watch that.
When I read that comment section, every one of Nick Fuentes' followers is like, he destroyed Dinesh. No, he fucking didn't. Right? What's happening is not only are we getting educated from, some 27-year-old moron who's never experienced life. He lives in his mom's basement. We are also validating them. So they're not only dumb. Jim Jeffries had a great bit about this. He goes, "You're creating confident, stupid people." It's like that's the worst imaginable combination ever, because they're being validated by social media, and we really need to get. I mean, I don't know how to fix this problem, but we really need to figure out how to get smart people in front of the camera. I'm not a smart person. I mean, I'm okay. Like you said, School of Hard Knocks. I was blessed with autism. I think my mom ate a bunch of Tylenol when she was pregnant, and I love the fact that she did it because I have a very high recall, I have a very good memory, and I can see patterns. That's my talent. But as far as being intellectual, I'm not intellectual. I'm just smart, street smart. And I can see what's going on, but I can't articulate it as well as somebody like Dinesh D'Souza, somebody like you even. So I think we need to figure out how to get back to that, because otherwise we're heading towards a cliff and nobody fucking knows how to hit the brakes. So, but on that note, I think this was a great conversation, man. I did want to say one final thing. You mentioned earlier in your opening about that vision you had. One of the people in the comments was like, that story was so amazing. And it got me thinking. My mom just passed away this year, and I've never had the movie moment, right? Where you understand this as a director, as a writer, the movie moment when somebody's standing in a room and then their vision comes to life, or they see a vision or something like that, and then it's captured on screen. Until my mom passed away. She passed away. I was in her apartment, getting ready to, I packed everything up. So it was just an air mattress, a TV, and me. And I'm sitting in there. Sorry, getting choked up a little bit. I was sitting in there, and I saw everything back in the apartment. I saw it like clear as day, right? Where it was like her bookcase was back, her table was back, and then I look over and she was sitting at the table with me, doing her little. She drew these things. So like, I wouldn't have normally believed that story from you until it happened to me, where you can see these visions. You're not going crazy. And I think that was my mom coming in and saying, everything's going to be okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm still here. And it was a great story. It touched me, touched my audience. I really appreciate you coming on. If you want to give everybody, I know you said it's gunsandmosesmovie.com.
Yes.
The social media on your X, and then give your Instagram and give anything else that you want to plug before we get out of here.
Yeah, you could just search my name, Salvador Litvak. It'll come right up. Instagram is probably where I'm most active, and that's you'll have a good time because I tell jokes all the time. We have a great humor tradition. Maybe I should just share a joke because
oh, absolutely,
talk about jokes and not
absolutely.
Tell them,
I just got choked up. Right? Break that.
But how about this? A rabbi, a Hindu priest, and a politician go hiking. Mm-hmm. And they're supposed to, stay at this inn, but they can't find it. They're lost in the woods. They end up knocking on the door of a farmhouse. Can we spend the night? Farmer says, no problem. But I got to tell you, the guest room only has 2 beds in. It's very small. One of you has to sleep in the barn. The Hindu priest says, my brothers, it's no problem. You guys take the bedroom. I'll sleep in the barn. The rabbi and the politician are settling in for the night. There's a knock on the door. It's the Hindu priest. He says, my brothers, I'm sorry. There's a cow in the barn. I can't sleep beside the holy animal. The rabbi says, don't worry about it. Take the bed. I'll go out to the barn. The politician and the Hindu priest are settling in for the evening. Rabbi's back, knocking on the door. He says, there's a pig in the barn. I can't sleep beside the filthy animal. Politician says, let it be remembered. I sacrificed for the greater good. Off he goes to the barn. The rabbi and the Hindu priest are settling in for the evening. There's a knock on the door. They open it. It's the cow and the pig.
That would be that would be the accidental Talmudist on Instagram. That was actually a good one. I never heard that before. I thought I heard every joke. The Jewish jokes that I've heard,
And,
you don't want
the
to
book
hear.
is
They're
Let My
very
People
offensive.
Laugh.
Yeah,
Let My
I've heard.
People Laugh. Greatest Jewish jokes of all time. It's a
This-
great gift. It's a bestseller on Amazon.
There's this guy that I follow. I've hung out with him. He's a great guy. His name is The Fat Jew on TikTok, and we were doing a live stream once, and he told the very bad joke about the ashtray, and I just laughed. Like, I was just, because I haven't sent that type of sense of humor. And I'm telling you, people were like, Mr. Patriot's an anti-Semite. I'm like, he's Jewish. He told it. I didn't tell it, so. But I love that. I love that, man. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, Sal. This was great. Great time.
Zach, thank you for having me. This has been a really fun conversation.
Anytime, sir.
Maybe you have to come back on my show.
Absolutely. Name the time, and we'll make it happen.
Okay,
All right,
brother. All the best, and have a great day. Have a great weekend, and may we all be learning from our elders and transmitting wisdom to the next generation. This world needs a little bit of saving right now.
Yeah,
but I'm optimistic.
Yeah,
Shabbat
I just ordered Charlie's book. I've done it a couple times just to try it out. I'm gonna try to make it a practice. So hopefully, maybe tonight we'll do Friday at sundown. Turn the phone off for 24 hours. All right, sir. You have a great one. Talk to you later.
All the best, brother. Take care.
Bye. All right, boys and girls. That was awesome. That was awesome. And I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if you motherfuckers noticed. But I was very conscious about not interrupting. Right? I hear your criticisms. And I try. It's just my brain doesn't shut up. I always want to talk. But I did a very good job today where I was like, fucking write it down. When I write down, I have a better interview when I write shit down. Because I can ask, wait. If I don't have anything written down, I'm going to overtalk you, which is why I overtalk Sean every fucking week. But he's the co-host. It's my show. He doesn't mind. Shut up. All right, boys and girls. Again, go over and check out gunsandmosesmovie.com. Go follow Salvador at Accidental Talmudist on Instagram. And what was the other one? A Talmudist, I believe, is the... Yes, A Talmudist, like the letter A and the word Talmudist. I'm going to get so much shit for having a Talmudist on. Right? They're going to be like, oh, fucking, what have you heard of the Talmud? I'm fucking, all right, boys and girls. It's Friday. So you know what that means. That means fuck off. I mean, I won't be here tomorrow. I won't be here the next day. We will do maybe Monday. Maybe. That's how maybe Monday works. We are looking really good on the analytics or the dashboard. Let's double check. Let's go check right now. 18.3 hours. And today we start at 7. Let's chalk another hour and a half up to that. That's roughly 20. So we're going to be roughly 20 hours at the end of this show. Here's what we're going to do now. Let's go raid LFA TV. We'll knock out that last raid. We got 4 out of 5 raids. We need that 5th one. So give me 1 second. I gotta go find that fucker. Where's LFA? Where are you, Jeremy? Where the fuck are you? There you are. I found you, fucker. All right. So in the chat. Perfect. Copy. Is it raid / or / raid? I always forget. I did it right the first time. It's / raid. Okay. So getting ready to rumble. Everybody go over and check out LFA TV. It'll be up here on the screen. It'll be in the chat. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the weekend. I'm gonna do that. I'm going to Shabbat Shalom shit, whatever the fuck, however you say it, tonight at sundown tonight. I will turn my phone off. You know what though? I'm gonna have to turn it back on a little bit because I gotta use it for GPS tomorrow when I go hunting, and I have to listen to something when I'm in the blind. Does that count? How about this? No social media till tomorrow night. We'll do that. No social media until tomorrow night. I'll baby steps. We'll baby step our way into the Shabbating and the Shaloming. We'll do that. Yes. Okay. Did the YouTube fuckers get all pissy in here? YouTube has an algorithm refusing to talk about Islam. But I was banned. I got some YouTubers that aren't haters. Holy shit. Holy shit. Is my YouTube audience growing? No way. 485 people in here. Oh, over 500 people in here between all three platforms. I did not cut the stream early for other platforms because it's an interview and I wanted you guys to see it. On the regular show, on the daily breakdown, you get an hour free or an hour on all platforms, and then the rest is Rumble only. But let's do the shout-outs. The shout-outs only apply to Rumble peoples, right? The Rumblers. The Rumblers get the shout-outs. So let's do that. All right. I'm on guest. Guest. Why am I on guest? Should be on presentation. Presentation. Okay. Rumble chat. Boom. Okay. Oh, look at that. That was fucking banging right there. That was like first try. I just resized and fucking threw it in there. All right. So for the shout outs, we have Roadrunner 513, Shiloh, Ben Levy, Georgia Mom 2015, X Eden X. What else we got? We got Star Spangled Savage up in here. Akechi Goro. That sounds fun to say. TPH 14, 7 Legion Studios. And is that it? Is that everybody? Come on. All right. I guess that's everybody. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you maybe Monday.